Hilchos Yesodei Hatorah, Perek Hey. Laws of the Foundations of the Torah, Perek Chamishi, the 5th chapter. We're moving now to the body of Jewish law. Till now was mitzvahs that are more spiritual, if you will, about Hashem's existence, love and fear of Hashem. And today, we actually get into the body of halacha, and we're going to address two mitzvahs. The mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem and the mitzvah of Chilul Hashem. The mitzvah to sanctify Hashem's name and the mitzvah against desecrating Hashem's name. The primary way to make a Kiddush Hashem is by giving up your life for Torah and its mitzvahs in specific cases. But we're also going to see that there's ways to live as a Jew, which makes a Kiddush Hashem, and there's a way to live as a human being that makes a Chilul Hashem, desecration of Hashem's name. But first, we spend time on the main way, which is sacrificing one's life for Hashem. Halacha Aleph. Kol Beis Yisrael mitzuvin al Kiddush Hashem hagadol hazeh. All of the house of Israel is commanded to sanctify this holy name, Hashem. Shene'emar, as it says in the pasuk, 2 weeks ago's parsha, last week's parsha actually. V'nikdashti b'seich b'nei Yisrael. I shall become holy among the Jewish people, which means that sometimes you have to do something to make Hashem's name holy. Umuz harin shalei lechaleloi. We're also warned against desecrating Hashem's name. Shene'emar v'lo techalalu et shem kodshi. Do not desecrate my holy name. Ketzad. How do we do Kiddush Hashem and how do we do Chilul Hashem? Now, what the Rambam is going to describe right over here is not yet Kiddush Hashem. It's coming in the next halacha. First, says the Rambam as an introduction. Kishayamod oved kochavim. If a goy stands up against you, an anti-Semite with an agenda, v'yenos et Yisrael la'avor alachat mikol mitzvot ha'amorot b'Torah, o yahargenu, and he forces a Jew, he says, either transgress this mitzvah in the Torah, or I'm going to kill you. Ya'avor va'al yahareg. The basic principle is that you have to transgress the avera rather than get killed. Stay alive. Shene'emar b'mitzvot, because we have a principle, a fascinating principle. It says by mitzvahs, asher ya'aseh otam ha'adam b'chai b'hem. A person is supposed to do the mitzvahs so that he can live by them. Say the sages, b'chai b'hem means v'lo sheyamut b'hem. Mitzvahs and Torah, keeping a Torah life, are supposed to give you life, not death. You're supposed to live for Hashem. So if someone's coming to tell you, stay alive, or do this avera or I'm going to kill you, you have to stay alive and do the avera rather than get killed. And the Rambam actually says, v'imeit v'lo avar, if a person chooses voluntarily to die without transgressing the avera, harei zeh mitchayev b'nafsho. He's obligated for his life. Now, how do you kill somebody who's already killed? He died. But the idea is that they judge him as if he committed suicide. In Bedin Shel Ma'ala, they consider it as though he did suicide because he died for the wrong reasons. It's a major point of contention. Taisvis, who in the Gemara, and even the Kesef Mishnah, who's the primary commentator over here on the Rambam, says absolutely not true. If a person chooses to die in the name of his faith of Hashem, even for another mitzvah, tzedakah techashev lo. It's considered to him a righteousness. And he says, shleimim v'chein rabim, over our history, many Jews have given up their lives just for a different part of the faith. Any mitzvah. Nevertheless, that's how the Rambam understands it. He says, no. When Torah says to die, that's when you'll die. When Torah says to live, you have to live. Now says the Rambam, halacha beis, bamed dvarim amurim, when does the above apply? Bishar mitzvot. Any mitzvah. In fact, the commentaries say it means any avera. It's not talking about a positive commandment. It's talking about negative commandments. He tells you, eat chametz on Pesach, or I'll kill you. And you have to eat chametz on Pesach. Chutz, with 3 exceptions. Me'avodat kochavim, v'gilui arayot, u'shvichat damim. Serving idols, immoral relations, or murder. Aval shlosh averot elu. These 3 averas. Im yomar lo. If the guy says, again, a gun to your head, avor al achat mehen, o tehareg, transgress one of these mitzvahs, or get killed, yehareg va'al ya'avor. You must be killed, and not transgress the mitzvah. And here we're going to see, this is where Kiddush Hashem plays in. When you get killed, when you're supposed to, that's a sanctification of Hashem's name. Now, right now it seems like it's a very simple distinction. Every mitzvah versus the 3 mitzvahs. But we're going to see that the Rambam's going to give us 3 cases. One, where the guy is trying to entertain himself. The reason he wants you to do an avera is for entertainment. Build me a house. You're a good contractor, I need a house. Cook me a good steak on Shabbos, because I need a steak. That's one category. He's doing it for his own pleasure. Second category, he's doing it just to get you to do an avera. He just doesn't like the Jewish people. He wants to get you to violate your Jewishness. And the third and most strict level is when the entire government is against us, called Shat Hashmad, a time of persecution, and the Torah wants and the government wants us to live a certain way, is even stricter halachas. That's going to be the three cases we're going to learn. Now, when it comes to the three basic averas, doesn't matter what situation it is. Avodah zarah, gilui arayot, shfichat damim, you always have to die. The question is, on other averas, do you always get to live? So we're going to see. If he's doing it for his own pleasure, then you always get to live. If he's doing it just to spite you, to get you to do an avera, then it depends how many people are there. And if it's a government thing, then you have to get killed for everything. Okay, that's where we're heading right now. Says the Rambam. Bamed dvarim amurim. When does the above apply? And that means, when does the leniency apply? That typically you can go and do any other avera to stay alive. Bizman sheha'oved kochavim mitkaven lahana'at atzmo. If the guy, all he wants is for his own pleasure. Kigon, sha'anaso, he's forcing you, livnot lo beito b'shabbat, to build him his house on Shabbos, or levashel lo tavshilo, or to cook his food. Or, and here's a very interesting example the Rambam gives, anas isha leva'ala, the chayotze bazeh. He's coercing a woman to have relations with her. Now, why isn't this considered gilui arayot? She should have to die anyways. So the Mefarshim explain that she was unmarried. There was no prohibition in the Torah of her having relations. Therefore, she doesn't have to die. But if she was an eshet ish, if she would be a married woman, many commentaries say that this would not be a case of hana'at atzma. This would be a case of she has to get killed. Gilui arayot, exactly. But here the Rambam is talking about a case where there is no Gilui Arayot because she's unmarried. Other commentaries say that Gilui Arayot is only between Jews. If the guy wants you to marry a married woman, immoral relations. Immoral relations. Forbidden relationships. So if the guy wants you to have relations with another Jew, he says, you go marry that married woman, that's Gilui Arayot. But if he says have relations with me, that's not forbidden by the Torah. That's a different level of Avera. And therefore it goes into the category of other Averot, and you have to do it. But either way, for his own pleasure, that's when you get to Ya'avor va'al Yahareg, that's when you get to transgress the Avera. Aval, however, im nitkaven laha'aviro al ha'mitzvot bilvad, if all he wanted to do was to make you transgress a mitzvah, he doesn't care, he doesn't get any benefit. You go and eat pig. Nothing to do with me. I want you to violate your own religion. So then it depends how many people are there. If you're alone and there aren't 10 Jews watching or 10 Jews that know about it, according to some commentaries, then you still get to transgress and don't get killed. But if he coerced you to do an avera, just for the sake of doing an avera, and there's 10 Jews there, you must get killed and not transgress. Even if his only intent was to make you transgress a random mitzvah, not one of the three fundamental principles.
So the 10 people is a condition?
The 10 people is a condition. Why? Because 10, according to Jewish law, is considered to be a rabbim, a public. Eidah. So when 10 people know about it and they're watching you transgress a mitzvah, just to transgress a mitzvah, you have to show your great love to Hashem by saying, you know what, I'm going to die for this rather than transgress.
There's hinging the whole thing on how many people see this, or how many other
Jews see. In this case.
So there could be just you and this guy.
Yes.
Who's forcing you. It could be more than one, and then there could be a whole country.
Hold on, country we're getting to in a second. First, we're talking about individual guy.
On how many people see. I mean, this poor guy's life, depending on how many people are watching. I mean,
because the Torah. How do you base it? Because the whole. Yeah, it's because the original verse says "V'nikdashti b'toch b'nei Yisrael." I'm supposed to become holy among the Jewish people. The Talmud learns out that toch means among 10 Jews. The ideal way to sanctify Hashem's name is when there's 10 Jews present. So when a guy is holding a gun to your head and saying "violate your religion," not for me, just to violate your religion. There's 10 people watching. You have to get killed. Now that's only, again, individual guy versus you. The chol hadvarim ha'elu, says the Rambam Malacha Gimel, everything we just said is shelo bishat hagzera, not during a time of decree, or other texts have lo bishat hashmad, a time of persecution. Aval bishat hagzera, but if it's time of persecution, which means v'hu sheya'amod melech rasha ki Nebuchadnezzar b'chaveirav, an evil king like Nebuchadnezzar and his cohorts, his friends, got up v'yigzor gzera al Yisrael levatel datam, and they make a decree, an edict across the government, simply on the Jewish people to cancel their religion. Or mitzvah min ha-mitzvot, or to cancel a certain mitzvah. The commentaries note it has to be a gzera on the Yidden. It can't be, let's say there was a king that wanted to rule everybody, says everybody has to convert to Islam or convert to Christianity. It was directed against the Jews to cancel their religion or a mitzvah. Yehareg va'al yahavor afilu al achat mish'ar mitzvot. You have to get killed even on any other mitzvah, and also ben ne'anas betoch hasara, ben ne'anas beno lebenov dekachavim, whether it's individual in private or in public in front of 10 Jews. Why? Because over here, now it's considered to be the whole government is against the Jewish people, and any individual Jew who transgresses is like being mechalel at Hashem, he's desecrating Hashem's name. So you have to get killed for anything. The way the Talmud describes it is even on shoelaces. Even if the Goyim said every Goy has to wear red shoelaces in the name of idols, and we want Jews to also wear red shoelaces, they have to rather wear black and get killed than transgress. That's the three categories. Hana'at atzmo, if he's doing it for his own pleasure, then any mitzvah, do it. 3 cardinal averas, don't do it, get killed. If he's doing it to spite you, to get you to be over, to get you to transgress a mitzvah, then it depends if it's 10 people or not. 10 people, always get killed. Not 10 people, if it's other mitzvahs, get killed. 3 mitzvahs, other mitzvahs do it, and 3 mitzvahs still get killed. If it's a government persecution, then you always have to get killed.
What's the punishment if you don't?
Oh, says the Rambam Malacha Dalet. What's the punishment? Kol misha ne'emar bo ye'avor va'al yeharek. Anybody about whom it says that you have to transgress and not get killed. V'neharag v'lo avar, and he chose to get killed and not transgress. Hareza mitchayed b'nafsho. Then, like we said before, you're held accountable for your life. It's as though you committed suicide. On the other hand, v'chol misha ne'emar bo yeharek va'al ye'avor. If you were supposed to get killed, it says that you should get killed. V'neharag v'lo avar, and you indeed followed through and you got killed and didn't transgress. Harezeh kidesh et Hashem, you have sanctified Hashem's name. V'im haya ba'asara miYisrael, and if there were 10 Jews watching, Harezeh kidesh et Hashem barabim, you have done the greatest thing. Sanctified Hashem's name in public. Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Va'azariah, like the famous Daniel who was thrown to the lion's den because he wanted to daven to Hashem, like Hananiah, Mishael, Va'azariah who wouldn't bow down to the molten image of Nebuchadnezzar, and they were thrown into the fiery furnace. Rabbi Akiva v'chaverav, and Rabbi Akiva and his friends. What divine providence today is Lag BaOmer, the day of Rabbi Akiva's students who started passing, and we mentioned Rabbi Akiva in the Rambam. Rabbi Akiva and his friends who were also killed by the Romans for Hashem. This is the ultimate thing. Ve'elu hein harugei malchut. People like this, these people, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Va'azariah, Rabbi Akiva, and people like that are considered harugei malchut, those that are killed by the government. She'en ma'ala al ma'alatan. There is no greater stature than them. Va'alehen ne'amar, about them it says in Tehillim, Ki alecha horagnu kol hayom, for your sake we've been killed all day. Nechshavnu ketzon tivcha, we've been considered like sheep being brought to the slaughter. Va'alehem ne'amar, and about them it also says, Isfu li chasidai, gather to me my chasidim, my pious ones, kortei briti, who make a treaty with me, alei zavach, by the fact that they go to be slaughtered for my name. So you are considered the highest level. By the way, the Rebbe explains that according to the Rambam, this is the highest level. Who's better? If you are on the stand to be killed, and the guy actually kills you, or you're on the stand to be killed, and Hashem makes a nest and you don't die.
The one gets killed.
Where do you have a greater Kiddush Hashem? So according to Rashi, there's a greater Kiddush Hashem when you don't get killed. Because look how much Hashem does for his people. He's on the guillotine, he's about to be beheaded, and Hashem came in and saved the day. It's a greater Kiddush Hashem. But the Rambam, who is a halachic work, he says a Jew can't count on that. You can't say that legally you have to rely on the fact that Hashem's going to make a nest. No. If Hashem does it, of course, wonderful things for Hashem. But in halacha, if you ask halacha which is greater, when you die and Hashem doesn't save the day, that's when you've shown your ultimate love to Hashem. Now comes the question, what happens if you were supposed to die and you didn't? If it says that you should be killed rather than die, rather than transgress, you couldn't withstand the test. Someone said, take a gun, shoot this other Jew or I'll kill you. And unfortunately, you shot him. Or engage in relations. Or serve idols, and you did it. You have done a desecration of Hashem's name. And if there was 10 Jews watching, you have desecrated Hashem's name in public. And you also did not do the mitzvah taseh, the positive commandment, shehi kiddush Hashem. You've done the negative commandment and you have missed out the chance to do a positive commandment. However, the afal pikein, says the Rambam, even so, you've done a terrible thing in your relationship with Hashem, but we can't punish you. Because you transgressed forcefully, you were forced to do it, ein malkinoto. You can't give you malkut, you can't give him lashes. And certainly we can't kill you in the high court. Afilu harag be'ones. Even if you murdered somebody else under duress, we can't kill you for that. She'ein malkin u'mimitin ela la'over birtzono. We have a principle. Beit Din does not give lashes. Beit Din does not kill anybody. Only if you transgress willfully, ube'edim b'hatra'ah, with witnesses watching you and a warning. Shenemar, the source for this is, it says, benoten mizar olam molech, when a person gives his children to the molech, there was an idol that was called molech, that you bring your kids and pass them through a fire, and that was like a rite of passage for this idol. It says about him, "V'natati ani et panai ba'ish hahu." I will put my face or my attention on that man. Mipi hashmu'a lamdu. We learn halacha l'Moshe misinai. What's the interpretation of this verse? Hahu. It has to be that man, as the Gemara says, b'havayato. He has to be fully aware, fully conscious. Lo anus, v'lo shogeg, v'lo mut'eh. He can't be under duress, he can't be unaware, and he can't be misled. That's by avodah zara. It says you can't, that they don't get punished. Uma, says the Rambam, now kal v'chomer. Uma im avodat kochavim. If idol worship, shehi chamura min hakol, which is the ultimate stringency level of an avera. Ha'ovedot ha'be'ones eno chayav karet. If you serve it under duress, you're not obligated to be excised. You're not going to get cut off. Ve'en tzarich lomar mitat beidin, and certainly you won't get killed by the court. Kal v'chomer lish'ar mitzvot ha'avodat b'Torah. So a fortiori, how much more so when it comes to any other mitzvahs that are said in the Torah that you cannot get killed, you cannot held accountable for doing it under duress. Uba'arayotu omer, and also by illegal relations it says, V'lana'ara lo ta'aseh davar, don't do anything to the girl who was raped. She is under coercion. Aval, the next paragraph here is not in every Rambam. Some texts are missing it. Aval im yachol lemalet nafsho. But if you could escape, says the Rambam, if you're living in a land where there's a decree against Judaism and you can get out, v'livroach mitachat yad hamelech harasha, and get away from under the rulership of this evil king. The Eino is saying you don't do that. You're like a dog that goes back to eat up his vomit. And you're called an idol worshipper on purpose. You're chased out of the world to come, and you go to the lowest level of Gehinom. Because if you can get out, get out. It's not a license now that if you're under this government, now do whatever you need to do to stay alive. No, if you can get out, you have to leave. If you can't get out and you're forced, then we won't hold you accountable. So that's the punishments for it. If you were supposed to live and you died, that's like suicide. If you were supposed to die and you died, that's Kiddush Hashem. If you were supposed to die and you chose to live, then you were Mechalel at Hashem, but nothing we can do. Okay, so now we've talked about the basic way of Kiddush Hashem. Now we're going to get some branch-offs, some other things that come out of this law. Halacha Hey, Nashim, you have a group of women. Shamru lahen of dekochavim, and the Goyim and the Semites told them, Tnu lanu achat miken u'netameh ota. Give us one of you, so we can violate her. V'im lav netameh et kulchem. If you don't give us one, we're going to violate you all. What would you say to do? Tough question. We're going to rape one, or we're going to rape you all.
The case is like this.
Yeah, says the Rambam, Yitam'u kulan v'al yimsuru lahem nefesh achat miYisrael. We don't give up a Jew. Let them all go through it without giving a soul. Solidarity, Jewish unity. By the way, what kind of women are we talking about? Were they married women, unmarried women? Who were they? If they were married women, it would seem like
he didn't mention.
But so the commentaries discuss it. Some commentaries say they have to be unmarried, because if they were married, it's Gilui Arayot.
Yeah.
And they have to give their lives. If they're married, that's called Gilui Arayot. Now, if you hold like the opinion I mentioned before, that with a goy it's not a problem, so then that's true. It's not a problem. But if relations with a goy is on the same level as Gilui Arayot, so if they're married, they would seemingly not be allowed to get raped. The Rambam says here they should all get raped without giving over one of them. No, they should all get killed. They should all say, we're not doing anything, shoot us. So because the threat wasn't, we'll kill you, so therefore they're allowed to get raped. If the threat was, we'll kill you, they said, give us one to rape or we'll kill you all, then some of the Mefarshim say that death wins if they're married. Of course, if they're unmarried, then never.
It doesn't say we kill you, it says Nekamet.
That's what I'm saying. That's what the Mefarshim say. Because the threat wasn't the threat of death, that's why Yitam'u kulan. But if the threat was a threat of death, some would say that you have to get killed. By the way, some commentaries say, even if she was a misbehaving woman. What if there was one woman over there that everyone knows she's a prostitute? Just give her up. No, we never give up a Jew. V'chein, says the Rambam, also, imam rulahem of dekochavim. What if Goyim said to a group of Yidden, idol worship, said to a group of Jews, Tnu lano echad mikem v'nahargenu, give us one, and we'll kill him, v'im lav naharoget kulchem, or we're going to kill you all. 100,000 Jews in the city. The Goyim say, give us one of you, or we'll kill you all. Yehargu kulam, says the Rambam, all Jews must get killed, v'al yimsuru lahem nefesh achat miYisrael, and we never give them away one Jewish soul. The simple reason for this is, the Kesef Mishnah explains over here, because what's the whole reason why you can't kill somebody else? What's the whole reason if a guy comes over to you and says, shoot this Jew or I kill you? Why can't you kill him? So the Talmud says, the famous line, "My chazit de damadidach sumak tfei." Why do you think that your blood is redder than your friends? So over here, even over here, where it's 1 against 100,000, on each one we'll say, why is his blood redder? Who are you going to choose? This guy? Why is his blood redder than yours? Or why is your blood redder than his? That guy? And on every single person you'll say that logic. However, now there's another case. What if the Goyim designated one Jew and they said, Tnu lanu ploni, give us that guy, or we kill you all. Now what happens? This is a tough one.
If they choose one, then he goes.
If they choose one, then he goes. You'd be surprised. The Rambam says no. Im hayam mechuyav mita kesheva ben bichri. If the guy they chose was anyways meant to die, like Sheva ben Bichri. Sheva ben Bichri is talked about in the story of David and of Shalom. After the rebellion, he made another rebellion against David, and he became mechuyav mita. He was obligated to be killed. So if he was like him,
He was already dead man walking.
yitnu oto lahem, then the Jews are allowed to give him away to the Goyim. But even there, ve'ein morin lahem kein lechatchila. You can't tell them the law. If the Jews came to the rabbi and said, we have a guy they want, and this guy is mechuyav mita, should we give him over? The rabbi will say no. Only if the Jews know the law, they're allowed to give him up. Ve'im eino chayav mita, if he's not obligated to die, then even if they said, give us that guy, give us this guy, or we kill you all. Yihargu kulan, va'al yimsuru lehem nefesh achat miYisrael. We kill them all, we don't give away one Jew. Now here, it doesn't make much sense. If the whole reason why you can't kill somebody is because your blood's not redder than his, but what's going to happen here? They told you, we're going to kill this guy, if not we're going to kill you all, and him included. So then your blood is redder than his. Because if you give him up, you'll all be saved. If you don't give him up, everybody will be killed. So
is there an example that it happened?
I'm sure over our history, there's stuff like this has happened. So how come not? So the Kesef Mishnah writes that indeed the reason of blood redder than yours is not the real reason. The Jewish people had a tradition that we never give up another Jewish life. It doesn't matter when, who, where, anything. The rabbi said, when the logic applies, we'll tell the logic of your blood is not redder than your friends. But when it doesn't apply, there's still the din. And the Rebbe has a diary that he wrote in his early years, Rishimot, where he explains, he says, according to Primita Torah, according to the inner dimension of the Torah, we can understand it a little bit. Every Jew is a part of God. Every Jew has a spark of Hashem. So in that way, every Jew is infinitely significant. And when you're dealing with infinity, numbers don't matter. Individual versus the public doesn't matter. What are you going to say? 1 million people are more important than Hashem? This Jew is Hashem himself walking. So every Jew has infinite value. That's, until here, we're talking about laws where you have a goy who's forcing you to do an avera or die. Now we have another category. Something else is forcing you to do an avera. Ki inyan halacha vav, ki inyan she'amru ba'onasim, kach amru b'cholaim. The same way that the sages said, or Hashem said, when it comes to forcing from the outside, duress from a goy, that you have to sometimes give up your life, so too they said by sickness. Ketzad, what does this mean? Misha chalav v'natalamud, a person who got sick, and he's about to die, ve'amru harofim, and the doctor said, sherefuato b'davar ploni me'yisurin shebatorah, that the way to heal him is to give him pig. Yeah, you have to transgress the Torah to give it in order to heal him. Osim. The basic law is that you do it. In a place of danger, you could heal yourself with any prohibition in the Torah. But again, with the exception of the three. Chutz me'avodat kochavim, v'gilui arayot, u'shfichat damim. Idols, immoral relationships, or murder. For example, if they said, there's a beautiful fruit growing on that tree that can save this guy, but the tree is an idol tree. It's an Asherah tree. You can't take it. Or if they said, he needs to have relations with this woman, and he's going to get healed. Or if they said, we'll do a heart transplant. We're going to take the heart out of this guy, kill him, and put it into this guy so we can heal him. In those three cases, you cannot be healed. Shafilu bimkom sakana, en mitrap'in bahen, even in a place of danger, we don't get healed. But here the Rambam says something very curious. V'im avar v'nitrape. What if he did? He couldn't withstand it. He did it. He wanted to stay alive. And he did the avera. Here, on shinoto bedin onesh hara'ui. We punish him. We do punish him.
Even death?
Yeah. When the goy forced him to do the avera, we don't hold him accountable. But when the sickness got you to do the avera, we do. Why? What's the difference? The goy wants you to do an avera, the illness wants you to do an avera. So there's a famous commentary on the Rambam called the Maaser Okeach. He said, when the goy is holding a gun to your head, it's certain. The threat of death is certain. You don't do the act, you're going to die. But with illness, it's not certain. Maybe the heart transplant won't work. You're taking a chance. And maybe you'll get healthy. Even if you're on this bed of death, maybe you'll get healthy. How do you know? That's why, if you chose to do it, so you didn't exactly do it under duress. You chose to do it, so you get killed. The Rebbe goes a little deeper. He says it depends what was threatening you, or what was the threat. In the case of the Goy, the threat was, do the Avera. The actual deed was what was forced. He was telling you, do this Avera. We can't hold you accountable for that. When you do it under duress, it's a different type of deed. Here, the cancer wasn't saying, do the Avera. The cancer was saying, you're going to die. You chose on your own volition to do the Avera. No one told you to do the Avera, therefore you're held accountable for that. Okay, Halacha Zayin. Now we get the source. Till now we've been talking about all the time that if you do any of the three Averas, you have to get killed. What's the source for that? Uminayin. She'afilu bimkom sakanat nefashot. How do we know that even in a place of the threat of death, ein ovrin alachat mishlosh averot elu, you don't transgress one of these three transgressions? Shene'emar. First, we talk about idol worship. It says in the pasuk, "Ve'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol ma'odecha." You have to love Hashem your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your money, or all your might. Which means, afilu hu natalat nafshecha. You have to love your Hashem, show your dedication to God, not serve idols, even if He's going to take away your life. That's for idol worship. It's a pasuk. V'harigat nefesh mi Yisrael l'rapot nefesh acheres. To kill a Jew, to heal another Jew, or lehatzil adam miyad anas, or to save you from a guy who has a gun to your head. That's not even a pasuk. We don't even need a source for that. Davar shehadat notalahu. That's logic. She'en ma'abdin nefesh mipnei nefesh. You don't destroy one soul for another. Why is one human life more valuable than another? Va'arayot hukshu v'nefashot. And as far as immoral relations, the Torah compares them clearly to murder. Shene'emar ki ka'asher yakum ish are'ehu u'ritzachon nefesh. Just like a person gets up on his friend and kills him, ken hadavar hazeh, so too is rape. When a person rapes a woman, it's literally like murdering her. Emotionally and legally. Halacha ches. Bameh dvarim amurim she'en mitrap'in b'sh'ar yisurim ela bimkom sakana. We said in the last halacha, 2 halachas ago, number 6, that any other violation of the Torah, the only time you can heal yourself is when you're in danger. When do we say that? Bizman shehen derech hana'atan. If you're absorbing the isur, the prohibition, in the normal way that you're supposed to have pleasure from it. Kigon. For example, you have to give a guy to eat an insect. That's the way to heal him. Or chametz on Pesach. So then, the normal way to eat a sheketz, varemes, or chametz is to eat it through your mouth. So if you're going to consume it in the normal way, you have to be a danger there. Or they're giving you on Yom Kippur. But if it would be not the normal way of absorbing an isur, kigon, for example, you make a bandage or a compress, from chametz or orla is fruit in the first 3 years of growth. You're not eating it. You're just going to put it onto your body, make a medication out of it. Or they give you something that has a very bitter taste, and it's mixed in with forbidden foods like blood, let's say. There's no pleasure for the palate. Then it's permitted even if there's no danger, because you're not absorbing it in the normal way. Chutz, but even there there's an exception. 2 exceptions. Kilei kerem is mixture in a vineyard. If you planted grain or a vegetable in a vineyard and what grows is totally forbidden, even to put as a bandage on your head or on your body. Ubasar b'chalav, and meat and milk that were cooked together, you can't use them on your body, even not by eating them. Shehen asurin afilu shelo derech hana'atan. They're forbidden even not by the way of pleasure. Why? Because the Torah doesn't say don't eat them. The Torah says lo ye'achel. They should not be eaten. That means even in a different way than typical eating. Lefikach. It's even cooking. Therefore, you can never use them to heal you, even if it's not the normal way. Only in a place of danger. Again, in a place of danger, you can violate anything. Besides for the 3 cardinal sins. If there's no danger, then everything else, if it's not the normal way, you can use. These 2, even if it's not the normal way, you can't use. A final halacha related to death and kiddush Hashem. Tet. Misha natan enav bi'isha. A person put his eyes on a woman. He has a crush on her. v'chalav v'natalamut. And he got so sick, he's going to die. V'amru harofim, and the doctor said, ein lo refuah ad shetiba'el lo. There is no healing until she has relations with him. What do we do? Yamut.
You let him die.
Yamut ve'al tiba'el lo. Let him die. We don't give her up. Afilu hayta pnuya. Even if she was unmarried.
This is a meshugana.
V'afilu ledaber imah me'achorei hageder. We don't even let him talk to her from behind the fence. Ein morin lo bekach. We don't teach that halacha that way. V'yamut. And let him die. V'lo yoru ledaber imah me'achorei hageder. Let the rabbis not say that he can speak to her from behind the fence. Shelo yehu b'not Yisrael hefker. This is the rabbis making women's rights. Jewish women should not be free for all. V'yavo b'dvarim elu lifrotz ba'arayot, and they're going to come with this to break boundaries in other areas if that's all it takes. And then the doctors will give you this woman who knows what, it totally breaks down the family unit in the way of arayot. So here the Rambam included this halacha in the laws of Kiddush Hashem. It seems like because it's part of it. We don't just put everybody up for sale.
I mean, if any guy is at that point where his life's threatened because he's got a crush on some woman, then I mean, it's obviously past.
You're dealing with mental illness here.
Yeah, you're dealing with mental illness. So, I mean, you've got to admit him into the asylum at that point.
Halacha Yud. We've learned about doing averas when someone else is threatening you. We learned about doing averas when Hashem is threatening you, an illness, let's say. Now, what if there's no threat? Kol ha'over midato belo ones. A person transgresses willfully. Nobody's forcing you. Alachat mikol mitzvot ha'amorot b'Torah bishat benefesh. He transgresses one of the mitzvahs with cold-bloodedness. It's like they translated here in a spirit of derision. You're making fun of Hashem. Lahachis, just to get Hashem upset. Harei zeh mechalel et Hashem. That's also considered chilul Hashem. Ulefikach nemar b'shvuat sheker, and therefore, when it comes to false oath, it says v'chilalta et Shem Elokecha ani Hashem. You're desecrating Hashem's name because you did it on your own voluntarily, just to get Hashem upset. If you did it in public, 10 people, you have desecrated Hashem's name in public. On the other hand, you separate from an avera, you do a mitzvah. Nothing is motivating you. No fear, no awe, no looking for honor. Only for Hashem the Creator. Like Yosef HaTzadik stopped himself from his wife's master. Nobody was there. Nobody was watching. He could have done it on his own. No one would have known. That is called Kiddush Hashem. Even in private, you can sanctify Hashem's name by doing the right thing just for the right reasons.
No, it should be. It's even more. It's more of a test when you're by yourself.
It's more of a test when you're by yourself. For sure. For sure.
Because there's no ramifications. I mean, in terms.
Yeah, no one's going to know, right? No one's going to know.
Your own. You have to deal with it yourself.
Exactly. And now in the last halacha, the Rambam says there's also a way to live and sanctify Hashem's name or desecrate it. There are other things, shehem bichlal chilul Hashem, which are included under the umbrella of desecrating Hashem's name. V'hu sheyaseh otam adam gadol b'Torah u'mefursam b'chasidut. If you have a great guy, a giant in Torah, publicized in his piety, and he does dvarim sha'abriot minarim acharav bishvilam, he does things that people make murmurs and rumors, they talk about him behind his back because of them, v'afal pi she'enan averot, even if by the letter of the law, it's okay, he didn't do any avera. But it's a questionable behavior. He has desecrated Hashem's name. Kigon, for example, he buys something and he doesn't give the money right away. Meaning in the case where he has the money. Which causes that the sellers are going to constantly be demanding from him, and he is draining them around, he pushes them around. That's no good behavior. Or he's too frivolous, or he eats and drinks too much next to Amei Haaretz, which are lowly people that didn't keep all the Torah in different ways, as we'll learn later on in the Rambam. He spends time with them. Or he speaks with people not in a pleasant way. He doesn't greet them with a proper countenance. Everyone knows people, there's great rabbis, geniuses in Torah, but socially, they don't behave well with people. They're anger, they're always fighting.
They call them gasei ruach.
They snap at you. Or things like this. So he didn't do anything wrong, just he spoke not nicely, or he spent time with the wrong people. But this can be called chilul Hashem. Hakol lefi godlo shel chacham, according to the greatness of the sage, tzarich sheidagdek al atzmo v'yaseh lifnim mishurat hadin. He must be exact with himself and do beyond the letter of the law. On the other hand, if a sage was very particular with himself, and he spoke very pleasantly with people, and his social conduct is attractive to people, and he greets everybody with a nice countenance, he takes arrows from them, people offend him, he gets embarrassed, but he never embarrasses back. He honors them, even those who degrade him. And he does business trustworthily, faithfully, and he doesn't spend too much time in the guest company of Amei Haaretz and sitting with them, and he's never seen Ella Osek B'Torah. Always when you see him, he's learning Torah, atuf b'tzitzit, muchtar b'tfilin, wrapped in tzitzis, crowned with tefillin, v'oseh b'chol ma'asav lifnim, mishurat hadin, and he's always doing beyond the letter of the law, v'hu, and on the other hand, shelo yitrachek harbeh v'lo yishtomem, shouldn't become a hermit, go far away and go alone. He's on the balance. To the point that everyone's always praising him and loving him and wants to be like him. That's a sanctification of Hashem's name. And about him the verse says, Hashem said to me, you are my servant, Yisrael asher b'cha et pa'ar, you are a Jew with whom I can be proud of because you behave like a Jew is supposed to. That's the highest, or one of the levels of Kiddush Hashem, behaving in the proper way.